The Curse of the Chupacabra. Maria Gonzalez lived in a small Mexican village nestled among rolling hills and vibrant flora. The village, a close-knit community, thrived on traditions and shared stories. Maria's family ran a modest goat farm, their primary source of livelihood. The farm was bustling with activity, goats bleating and children laughing. Tales of the Chupacabra, a creature said to drain the blood of livestock, were common around the village's evening fires. Maria, initially skeptical, was intrigued by the eerie legends. Her curiosity turned to concern when their goats started dying mysteriously, each death marked by strange puncture wounds and drained blood. Determined to protect her family's livelihood, Maria decided to investigate the unsettling occurrences, armed only with her courage and a flashlight. Determined to uncover the cause of the goat deaths, Maria began her investigation. She ventured out at night, discovering strange tracks near the goat pen and hearing eerie noises that sent chills down her spine. Despite her growing fear, her resolve to protect her family's livelihood strengthened. Maria sought out the older villagers, listening to their tales and legends about the Chupacabra. She found patterns in their stories, noting the creature's nocturnal habits and preference for livestock. As her investigation deepened, the strange occurrences escalated. More goats died mysteriously, and the unsettling sounds grew more frequent, heightening the tension and urgency of Maria's quest to solve the mystery. Maria ventured into a secluded part of the forest, following the ominous tracks with a pounding heart. The forest was dark and tense, shadows looming, and the air thick with an eerie silence. Every rustle and snap heightened her fear, but she pressed on, driven by determination. Suddenly, she came face to face with not one, but a pack of chupacabras. Their glowing eyes pierced the darkness, and Maria realized the full scope of the danger. An intense struggle ensued as Maria fought desperately to fend off the creatures, swinging her flashlight and using every ounce of her strength. Desperation fueled her bravery, but the pack closed in, surrounding her with their menacing presence. The last thing Maria saw was their glowing eyes, a circle of terror tightening around her. In her final moments, Maria realized her fate as the chupacabras closed in. Her mind raced with memories of her family and the village, mingled with the terror of the present. She felt the creature's cold breath and sharp claws, her heart pounding in her chest. As the pack descended upon her, the forest fell silent, the chupacabras claiming their prey. The next day, the village discovered Maria's disappearance. Search parties found strange tracks and signs of a violent struggle in the forest. The chilling evidence left no doubt about what had happened. The legend of the Chupacabra grew stronger, with Maria's tale becoming a haunting reminder of the village's dark struggle with the creature, forever etched into their lore. The Swarm. Giovanni Turner and Tyler Ramirez, two adventurous American teenagers, were always on the lookout for their next thrill. They lived in a small, sleepy town where everyone knew each other, and stories of the haunted abandoned house on the outskirts were legendary. The house, with its broken windows and overgrown yard, was said to be cursed, and locals avoided it at all costs. One afternoon, driven by curiosity and the thrill of the unknown, Giovanni and Tyler decided to explore the old house despite the numerous warnings. As they approached, the house loomed ominously, its eerie silence amplified by the creaking of old wood and the rustle of leaves. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. Their flashlights revealed dilapidated furniture and creepy artifacts, remnants of a bygone era. As they ventured further, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned beehive in one of the rooms. The sight was unsettling, and as they examined it, they could sense a strange, almost supernatural presence lurking within. That night, The bees found their way into Giovanni and Tyler's homes through vents and cracks. Giovanni was the first to notice, hearing the ominous buzzing grow louder before seeing the bees pour into his room. Panic-stricken, he tried to swat them away, his fear escalating as more and more bees invaded his personal space. Across town, Tyler faced the same terrifying realization, the swarm relentlessly closing in. Both boys frantically tried to fend them off, using anything they could find to protect themselves. Giovanni grabbed a towel, swinging it wildly, while Tyler tried to seal the cracks with tape, but their efforts were futile. The bees kept coming, their numbers increasing, and the sense of doom became overwhelming. Their final, desperate cries for help filled the night, echoing through the walls as the bees descended upon them. The swarms engulfed them, their stings relentless and inescapable. The buzzing grew louder, drowning out their screams, until only the eerie hum of the supernatural bees remained. Giovanni and Tyler were overpowered by the relentless swarm, their final moments a blur of pain and terror. The sensation of being engulfed by the bees was suffocating, the stings burning their skin. Their screams pierced the night, desperate and frantic, but were abruptly silenced as the bees claimed their victims. The once peaceful homes now echoed with an eerie silence, the boys' struggles ending in chilling stillness. The next day, the town was in shock as news of Giovanni and Tyler's disappearance spread. Neighbors discovered their homes in disarray, rooms filled with dead bees and signs of a violent struggle. Fear and speculation gripped the community, with whispers of the haunted house and the supernatural swarm growing louder. The legend took on a life of its own, a chilling warning to anyone who dared to venture into the abandoned house. The memory of Giovanni and Tyler's fate served as a stark reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows, forever haunting the small town. The Serpent of the Desert. Ana Castillo, an archaeology student, joined an excavation in the vast Sonoran Desert. The harsh environment, with its scorching heat and endless sand dunes, was both daunting and mesmerizing. The dig site buzzed with activity as the team meticulously unearthed ancient artifacts, hoping to uncover secrets of a lost civilization. One day, Ana uncovered a peculiar relic, adorned with ominous serpent markings. The team, intrigued and slightly unnerved, decided to study it further. That night, Ana dreamed of a giant snake, its eyes glowing menacingly. She awoke to find snake tracks around her tent, sending a shiver down her spine. As strange incidents began to plague the camp, unease grew among the team, casting a shadow over their once thrilling adventure. Members of the dig team started disappearing one by one, leaving Ana and the remaining members desperate for answers. They tried to find logical explanations, but the growing tension and fear were undeniable. Determined to uncover the truth, Ana delved into the relic's history and discovered ancient texts and local legends about a serpent guardian cursed to protect it. Realizing they had unleashed a malevolent force, Ana's fear turned to resolve. The giant serpent began to appear, its enormous, sinuous form striking terror into the hearts of those left. Its glowing eyes and swift, deadly attacks left no doubt about its power. With her team dwindling, Ana resolved to confront the serpent and end the curse, her determination fueled by a mix of bravery and desperation. Ana set out alone to find the serpent's lair, braving the treacherous journey through the harsh desert. The scorching sun and biting winds tested her endurance, while the desolate landscape echoed with eerie silence. Along the way, she stumbled upon remnants of the serpent's previous victims, their bones bleached by the relentless sun, further fueling her determination. Reaching the serpent's lair, Ana was surprised by the giant snake. The air was thick with tension as the serpent emerged, its scales glistening and eyes burning with malevolence. An intense battle ensued, Anna wielding her tools bravely and desperately. The serpent's coils tightened around her, but she fought fiercely, determined to break the curse or die trying. As Anna tried to escape, the serpent's powerful coils ensnared her, crushing her with overwhelming force. In her final moments, she felt the serpent's scales tightening, her vision dimming as she struggled in vain. Her last sight was the serpent's enormous mouth opening wide right in front of her, ready to devour her whole. Days later, a rescue team arrived at the excavation site, only to find it eerily abandoned. They discovered the cursed relic, but no trace of Anna or the missing team members. The legend of the Serpent Guardian persisted, with Anna's tale adding a chilling chapter to the desert's dark lore, forever haunting the sands of the Sonoran Desert. The spirit of the coyote. Carlos Rodriguez, an environmental researcher, moved to a remote village in New Mexico to study the local wildlife. The village, surrounded by arid deserts and rugged landscapes, was dotted with adobe houses and had a timeless charm. The villagers, a mix of Native American and Hispanic communities, lived in harmony with nature. Carlos had spent years studying various ecosystems and was eager to document the wildlife in this new environment. While interacting with locals at the village market, Carlos heard about the legend of the spirit coyote. An elderly villager told him about a malevolent spirit that took the form of a coyote with glowing eyes, leading people to their doom in the desert. Carlos, a man of science, was skeptical but intrigued by the villagers' fear and reverence for the coyote. One night, during field research, Carlos heard the howls of coyotes. Among them, one howl stood out, deeper and more resonant. He followed the sound and spotted a particularly large coyote with glowing eyes watching him from a distance. The coyote's presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying, creating an eerie atmosphere that Carlos couldn't shake off. Carlos, driven by curiosity, began investigating the coyote sightings and the local legends. He interviewed villagers who had encountered the coyote or lost loved ones to the desert. Their stories were filled with fear and sorrow, describing how the glowing-eyed coyote led people away, never to return. As Carlos gathered more accounts, his obsession with understanding the phenomenon grew. He meticulously documented every detail, hoping to find a rational explanation. As Carlos delved deeper into his research, strange occurrences began to plague him. He heard unsettling noises at night, whispers in the wind, eerie howls, and distant screams. Shadowy figures appeared in his peripheral vision, disappearing when he turned to look. Objects in his home moved inexplicably, and the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The large coyote with glowing eyes appeared more frequently, watching him from the shadows. Carlos's scientific mind struggled to explain these bizarre happenings, and his skepticism began to waver. One fateful night, determined to solve the mystery, Carlos decided to follow the coyote. He prepared carefully, packing supplies and marking his route to avoid getting lost. The tension was palpable as he waited for the coyote to appear. Finally, under a moonlit sky, the glowing-eyed coyote emerged, staring intently at Carlos before turning and trotting into the desert. Heart-pounding, Carlos began his pursuit, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity. He ventured deeper into the desolate landscape, unaware of the dark fate that awaited him. Carlos followed the coyote deeper into the desert, the creature's glowing eyes his only guide. The harsh environment quickly took its toll. The biting cold of the night, the rough terrain, and the ominous silence weighed heavily on him. The moonlight cast eerie shadows, transforming the desert into a landscape of haunting shapes and echoes. Each step filled Carlos with a growing sense of dread as he ventured farther from the safety of the village. As hours passed, Carlos realized he was hopelessly lost. The familiar landmarks vanished, replaced by an endless expanse of sand and rock. Panic began to set in, and he started seeing visions of other lost souls. Shadowy figures wandering aimlessly, their faces etched with despair. These spectral images floated around him, whispering words he couldn't understand, intensifying his fear and disorientation. The spirit coyote reappeared, circling Carlos with a menacing air. Its eyes glowed brighter, and Carlos felt a palpable sense of impending doom. He tried to communicate, shouting questions and pleading for answers, but the spirit remained silent and elusive. The coyote's movements were deliberate, herding Carlos towards an unknown destination. Carlos's tension peaked as he found himself on the edge of a cliff. Below, the darkness seemed endless, a void waiting to swallow him. The coyote stood between him and the path back, its presence a barrier he couldn't cross. Desperation gripped Carlos as he frantically searched for a way out, but the spirit's relentless gaze pinned him in place. In that moment of terror, Carlos felt an unseen force pushing him towards the edge. His mind raced, filled with fragmented thoughts and memories. He thought of the villagers, the legends, his own skepticism, and the undeniable reality of his situation. The ground crumbled beneath his feet, and he stumbled forward. As he fell, time seemed to slow. Carlos's final thoughts were a mix of regret and resignation. He had sought to understand the unknown, and now he was becoming part of it. The sensation of falling was surreal, the wind rushing past him as the ground rose to meet him. His last conscious moment was filled with an eerie silence, a stillness that seemed to envelop him entirely. The story concludes with the image of the coyote standing at the cliff's edge, its glowing eyes watching as Carlos disappeared into the abyss. The desert returned to its quiet state, leaving Carlos's fate ambiguous and haunting, a new legend for the villagers to tell.